quelqu'un avec club des annonceurs, finalement on a voulu construire. On a voulu construire une nouvelle relation avec plus de respect et aussi plus d'efficacité. On a voulu construire une nouvelle façon d'exercer notre métier où, on le voit, on est tous les jours tous de plus en plus interdépendants. Et puis, on a voulu construire des nouveaux systèmes de communication intéressants. En un mot, on a voulu co-construire. Et puis, finalement, construire, c'est le métier de Lego, qui, on va dire, brique après brique, univers après univers, contenu après contenu, a su élaborer et intégrer une stratégie commerciale, marketing et communication absolument remarquable. Et donc, on est vraiment très heureux de les accueillir aujourd'hui. Et puis, je forme un vœu, c'est que tous dans ce métier, tous dans cette salle, on ait à cœur d'apporter notre brique à la réinvention de ce métier. Ouais, j'en profite pour remercier Stratégie, qui est notre partenaire, qui vient donc apporter la sienne. Voilà, je passe la parole à mes amis, je ne sais pas pour que ça me
Merci. Avant tout, merci à vous d'être là. C'est tôt le matin, c'est toujours difficile, on a beaucoup d'autres choses à faire. Et c'est toujours un plaisir de passer du temps ensemble pour échanger avec des gens, des professionnels, des amis qui ont des belles histoires à raconter. Un peu bon, moi, chaque fois, beaucoup de fois, on entend des briefs des annonceurs qui nous demandent on cherche un supplément d'âme. Je pense que ce n'est pas du tout les briefs que peut avoir une marque Lego, parce qu'ils ont eux-mêmes déjà une âme énorme. Ils ne cherchent pas les suppléments d'âme, ils l'ont déjà. Et la chose que je trouve intéressante est qu'avec déjà 3 briques de Lego, on peut raconter une histoire. Alors, tout est lié au storytelling, on parle toujours du storytelling, et on a un produit qui aujourd'hui va nous démontrer comment gérer une intégration juste au monde du cinéma. Et bien, c'est un plaisir d'être là. Merci encore.
Absolument. Bon, on est ravis de finir le cycle annuel des intégrales avec ce cas-là, parce que dans la communication intégrée, il y a collaboration. Et s'il y a un exemple emblématique de collaboration et de générosité dans la collaboration et de respect mutuel, c'est bien celui qu'on va vous montrer aujourd'hui. C'est une marque qui, à partir de ses valeurs, à partir de son ADN, regroupe autour d'elle, vous allez voir un nombre absolument incroyable d'autres annonceurs, comme celui qui a sorti le film Lego, et dans une attitude de générosité, de rassemblement autour d'elle et de ses valeurs, qui, pour nous, finit très très bien l'année et passe un message d'espoir dans la collaboration qu'on a envie et qu'on est en train de plus en plus d'avoir tous ensemble. C'était le but du programme intégral, et ben on finit bien l'année 2014. Voilà, bonne réunion.
Avant d'entrer dans le vif du sujet, je pense qu'on parlait de l'âme de Lego, donc je voulais juste vous dire ce que peut être l'âme de Lego, mais en tous les cas, ce qui anime Lego et ce qui anime les gens qui travaillent avec nous, surtout quand on a l'habitude de travailler longtemps ensemble, c'est la liberté créative. On est on va dire des évangélistes de la liberté créative et de l'importance de la créativité. C'est pas à vous que je vais apprendre ça, pour nos enfants en particulier et pour le monde de demain, donc être sûr qu'on peut s'adapter à un monde en perpétuelle évolution. Et surtout, on sait que les enfants ont beaucoup plus à nous apprendre sur la liberté créative que ce qu'on peut leur apprendre nous. Donc c'est ce que je vais vous présenter tout de suite. Donc cette liberté créative, il n'y a rien de mieux que d'écouter les consommateurs en parler, et en particulier les enfants en parler à leur maman.
Avec les Lego, je fais des camions. Je peux construire plein de trucs. Des robots que personne ne verra que c'est des robots. Tu peux construire, tu peux inventer. Des hôtels avec 5000 étoiles.
Elle a une petite vie imaginaire, mais là, bien sûr, j'ai pas le droit d'être dans la chambre.
J'ai pas le droit d'y rentrer. La porte est fermée.
Ouais, un mode d'emploi, je m'évanouis. Lui, il regarde un mode d'emploi, il aime bien ça.
C'est son monde à lui, je suis pas certaine qu'il ait très envie de le partager avec moi, en tout cas.
Il joue toujours avec ses jeux de construction quand il est tout seul.
Parfois, j'ai quand même ce côté, qu'est-ce qui se passe dans sa tête, j'aimerais comprendre.
Dans un cockpit de saut spatial comme je construis, il y a des machines partout. il y a une petite entrée ici, il y a un petit levier pour ouvrir. Là, il y a un couvreur pour réparer le toit parce qu'il y a une grande tempête. Ici, t'as pluie et il y a une plage qui va sortir. Et le robot, il va tout de suite dans l'avion avec les enfants. Il claque des doigts et il se transforme en avion. C'est un panneau qui dit sur la plage, on n'a plus le droit d'avoir les chiens lâchés.
Non, je vois pas du tout.
C'est une annexe du vaisseau. Ça, c'est quoi? C'est des phares? C'est catastrophique.
C'est pas la boîte aux lettres de leur maison, c'est l'aéroport?
Non.
Tu peux pas m'en dire un peu plus?
Et ça, tu sais pas ce que c'est?
Bah non. Un avion? Avec des ailes?
Oui, celle-là, elle voulait... Oh oui.
T'as vu?
Ça raconte l'histoire.
Mais quelle histoire?
Pas la mienne. Là, il y a la balade en éléphant. Par le vaisseau requin. Et il y a le jet en haut.
Le jet de qui?
De Gaïa. Ça, je sais. C'est interdit aux chiens. Le vaisseau requin, il détruit toute la faune et tout. Donc ils veulent le capturer. Les parents, ils se font masser pour... Après, ils sont tout relaxés. Ils punissent pas les enfants. Et comme ça, les enfants, ils peuvent faire des bêtises. Ça, c'est la mer.
Ah, avec les vagues?
Oui, ça, c'est un camion pompier. Ça, c'est...
Moi qui avais peur de tout ça, j'en suis contente parce que je suis fière de lui, de ce qu'il fait.
Finalement, toutes ces briques, elles sont neutres. Avec ça, il peut construire n'importe quoi.
J'avais absolument pas mesuré que ça égale ça. Enfin,
Je suis étonnée de voir ce qu'elle a construit en fait.
En fait, elle pensait que j'étais nulle.
Non, pas nulle, mais je m'imaginais un peu, oui, elle allait faire quelque chose d'un peu plus basique.
Parce que je pense que c'est moi qui reste prisonnière de la brique. C'est moi qui limitais ça et je trouvais ça déjà très bien, hein, à quelque chose de plus technique et beaucoup moins créatif.
So first and foremost, we are a licensee of Warner Brothers. We take their IPs, turn them into Lego products and sell them quite simplistically. So this is a superheroes example, but in the past we've also had Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Hobbit and many more. We've got an incredibly important video games partnership. So Lego is the market leader for children's video games, certainly in the UK. And we as a company, as we produce more and more content, we're increasingly important in the home entertainment market as well. So Warner Brothers distribute a lot of our content on DVD. We also are venturing into new areas like the MMOG market. So this is an online game. It's a Lego brand, but Warner Brothers are distributing. We also have jointly licensed products in the market. And of course now we're taking to the big screen together. So from a local perspective, not only do we have the great product partnerships, but we also have a well-developed relationship between our marketing and sales functions on the ground, which really enable us to leverage each other's strength in these areas and use our kind of join forces to use our collective sway with our retailers to secure great feature and to secure cross-category execution. So, for example, you can see here, this is an example of us bringing multiple manufacturers and categories together into a single offering, which allows us to capitalise on a really high footfall location. So one T-shirt on its own isn't going to do it, one DVD. So we have to work across multiple buyers, multiple manufacturers, and bring it all together to create a package that's exciting for the consumer. And we've explored many ways to get the most out of this relationship. So that's the Man of Steel one. We can do exclusive products, promotional SKUs. So this is a DVD that we have supplied Warner Brothers with minifigures for, and they can mount those onto the DVD to create an exclusive offering for the consumer. Warner Brothers reciprocally give us space in DVDs to promote our own. This is our CRM program, the Lego Club. So a leaflet goes into every Lego DVD that goes out and gets into kids' hands that way. We also have joint forces with PR because actually content and Lego are both very PRable stories. So when you put them together, actually, we can do some really fun stuff and get some great impact. Events is another one. Obviously, we facilitate the relationship with Legoland to allow Warner Brothers to promote their video games and their IPs within the parks to engage audiences in another way. Okay, so back to the movie. Well, we hoped that it would be a really big movie, but actually none of us were prepared for quite the success that we saw with it, certainly in the UK. So you can see here that we ended up achieving something like almost three times the initial projection at the box office. So, yeah, I mean, movies are always a huge risk, as Neil will attest to. He works in theatrical marketing. It's very hit and miss. And as a company, we hadn't seen the movie until 3 weeks before it went live into the market. So, we were going in blind. And while we planned for success, we didn't know we were going to get it. But we needn't have worried, as it turns out. It did really well. So we've been really delighted at its success. So it is still, to this day, the highest grossing movie in the UK for 2014. We also had some fantastic reviews. Now, reviews are, we didn't make the film for critics, but it's important to us that the reviews are good because it fits with our brand ethos that only the best is good enough. So we're delighted with that. And just this week, we won a British Academy Children's Film Award, which is really exciting. So I've talked about our existing relationship with Warner Brothers, but the movie itself presented quite a different challenge and an opportunity to really step change the relationship into a new area. So yes, we previously had stakes in each other's successes and wanted to promote each other's success, but never had we quite before had such an aligned objective, which was just to make this movie the biggest thing that we could. And our brands and our success here were just inextricably linked. And I'm glad to say we managed to push the boundaries of the relationship incredibly positively. We were working with a much more aligned objective, much bigger budgets than we ever had before, so we had the opportunity to do some really exciting stuff. And something that was kind of different for us was the amount of promotional partners that a theatrical marketing team works with, because we're very protective of our brand, understandably. It's an 82-year-old brand and we need to protect it for the future. So this was really new territory for us, so we had to be guided by Warner Brothers as well. And we needed to make sure that this guy in the middle, the guy who was receiving all these communications, was seeing something that was joined up, that was consistent, that was of the standard that he would expect from Lego, because ultimately kids would assume that all communications were coming from us. And so, whether it was the theatrical marketing, whether it was the marketing for the video game, whether it was the marketing for the products, whether if it was TV communications, digital communications, video on demand communications, out of home, whether it was partner communications, press partner communications, in-store, or high-profile retail, we needed to make sure that this picture made sense and looked aligned. So this involved the marketing departments from both Lego and Warner Brothers planning together from the outset. So we met for a huge kick-off meeting, summer before last. And this wasn't without its challenges. So at Lego, we're used to working on at least a 7-month planning horizon. Now, theatrical marketing happens much, much sooner, much, much closer to the bone. Around 3-month horizon is when they even start to think about what they're going to do, when they know what the budgets they have. So, I don't know, these guys, maybe they like stress, I don't know. But it was incredibly uncomfortable for us to have to shift our mindset to working so late in the day. So it wasn't only us that had to work together, it was also our media agencies, and we tasked them with creating what we called the one plan. So to make sure that all those communications that boy was seeing made sense, and that every single communication that went out for the Lego movie was planned with respect to every other communication. So this is the one plan. So I don't expect you to read this, but I put it up here because this was ultimately the cornerstone of our planning. And you have up here 5 above-the-line advertisers sending out messaging on the Lego Movie. You have on there TV, video on demand, digital, cinema, you have out of home, you have radio, you have multiple channels. And we had over 2,700 GRPs go out within a 2-month period just on the Lego Movie. So we needed to make sure that that was coordinated. So it allowed us not only to optimise the overall plan, but also to discover new opportunities to work together, like the one that Neil is about to present. But yeah, it was great. So the ad break takeover was an idea that came from PhD as part of this process. So looking at some of the results, this is some of the high impact out of home that we saw around the Lego Movie. So these 2 are incredibly high profile locations in London. You couldn't step into the street without being nearly run over by a Lego Movie bus in February. And there was communications everywhere, just absolutely surrounding them. 5 different TV creatives going out at once, so absolutely loads of multiple creatives running. PR, so we were lucky that at the time the press could not get enough stories about Lego. So not only did we have the premiere itself and the associated coverage, but we also had journalists wanting to come to our HQ in Denmark to report on how Lego is made. So we're really able to make a story out of that. We were able to, this is our Lego dress that we had designed as a PR stunt that made another appearance at the premiere. We had an hour-long special TV show, which is called The Culture Show, dedicated to Lego and its contribution to British culture. David Beckham, I don't know if anyone knows David Beckham. So he's actually one of Lego's biggest fans, and he came back out and said, he loves Lego, and there was a lot of reporting about that. You couldn't move for it being recreated in Lego and posted on a website. So every sporting match, every football game, every tennis match was recreated in Lego and posted as a video. And then we had some great coverage on the Jonathan Ross Show, which is a primetime TV show in the UK. We also had a great social campaign, which was run through the Lego channels. So we had the Emmett Awards, but we also had a great campaign called the Awesome Alliance. So you can see what we did was encourage consumers to build something out of Lego and take a perspective shot. And we had 16,000 entries in 1 month, which was incredible. The other, so this is an out-of-home execution that we did. So we put product-focused advertising into cinema foyers, and this is a terribly quality video, but I really like it because it shows a consumer reaction.
Sorry, that's Lego Movie. I've got a client coming.
That's the Lego Movie.
It is the Lego Movie. You've got a client coming to see it, you see. They want to see the kids and notes of it.
Is this the first day?
Well, we put it up yesterday, but yeah. I'm glad they like it.
So I think he thinks it's a giant iPad. But yes, that's interesting. So we had some really great digital, but I guess our biggest success was at retail. So being able to use the sales force at Warner Brothers, along with our own, to go in and sell the movie in early, to convince the retailers that this was going to be a huge success and to back it, was something that we did on a bigger scale than we ever have before. So these are the windows at Harrods that you can see at the top. So we owned an entire street. This is the toy wall at Toys R Us. But not only did we own the physical retail landscape, but it was the first time that we actually managed to own the digital retail landscape as well. And we conducted our biggest ever email campaign using our retailers' databases. So really a joint effort between Lego and Warner Brothers to secure that. So in terms of the results, here we have, so we were the biggest toy property. We're now slipped to number 2 because Frozen has taken over, which is fine. But yeah, we were the biggest Lego new toy property for 6 months. And this is our market share. So this is the toy industry market share from January 13 to May 14. We're the red line. And as you can see, we're usually comfortable number 2 in the UK. But this is February on the Lego movie launch. And I'm pleased to say it's stayed very strong since then. So in terms of what we've learnt, the first is the power of partnerships. So making sure that every function is aligned to join forces and have a much bigger collective impact than if we were working alone. Connecting the dots, so ensuring that everyone's communicating, making sure that every communication that surrounds that consumer is consistent. Taking a risk, which is not something at Lego we're usually comfortable with, but we took a big risk, as Neil will show you, which paid off, which is great. And thirdly, go big or go home. So that's our new mantra for new launches, because this has really set the standard for us internally. That's it. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name's Neil Burling. I'm from PhD in the UK. You will notice that I'll be speaking in English. All my slides are in French, thanks to my girlfriend who's translated them all. So hopefully, if you can't understand anything I'm saying, the slides will make some sort of sense. I'm mostly here today to talk to you about the world's first all-Lego ad break. I'm now contractually obliged to use that terminology when talking about it. We've entered it for so many awards, and that's how we've entered it. Working with Lego and working with Warner Brothers, we wanted to make sure that we brought together the best of both of those really strong brands. Lego, as kind of Danielle's touched on, really strong in terms of kind of playfulness, in terms of entertainment, really around that kind of kids audience. Warner Brothers, excellent at releasing film, experts in content production. So we wanted to bring those two brands together and those strengths together to really help launch this movie. And so we invented, as is the way of media agencies, we like to invent new words. So we invented Legotainment, but we made sure that we had kind of Hollywood style on the end. We wanted to make sure that we brought a sense of Hollywood and a sense of kind of event to this launch. And we quickly realised that people love recreating everyday events in Lego. I picked this example, I hope it's not too bad. It was difficult, I was looking for the Tour de France, but it's difficult to get, there's not many Lego men on bikes. So what we did, we took 4 everyday brands from the UK. So we've got the British Heart Foundation, Confused.com, which is an insurance comparison site, British Telecom, BT, and Premier Inn. So we took those 4 brands and we recreated their ads in Lego. Now this, I will show you the full ad break, just to point out, because I didn't feel that you might necessarily be familiar with the original ads. Drove people there through a lot of activity on social media. And it was one of the best adverts YouGov have ever tested. So they tested the entire break. Hopefully you can see there's a blue line and then there's another blue line, very helpfully color-coded. The original rating of all of the ads, so the original versions, you can see is substantially lower than when we recreated them in Lego. So hopefully all of the brands that were involved really felt that they got a huge benefit. So that's what everybody saw, but in terms of the real story and in terms of making it happen, hopefully I'll take you into a little bit of that now that you'll find interesting. It didn't just take the collaboration between PhD, Cara, Warner Brothers and Lego to make this happen. There were 23 stakeholders involved. When I say 23, I think there might have been a few more that we haven't got on this slide. But in terms of the people that we're working with, we worked with different creative agencies. We needed to get their assets released in terms of sound files. We needed to get the ads released so that we could recreate them in Lego. We involved 5 production companies in terms of recreating the ads brick by brick in Lego. We were involved, there was 3 different media agencies involved. We had Manning, Gottlieb, OMD. Obviously they're part of the Omnicom group, so that's relatively easy. Maxis, however, not part of the Omnicom group, slightly more challenging. But then we've got there's talent approvals, there's music right approvals. We didn't actually have the music rights to Staying Alive as part of the BHF ad until about 48 hours before we broadcast. We also we really pushed Lego. We really pushed them. These two things have never happened before. So you've never been allowed to tattoo a Lego man's hands. We did that. You've never been allowed to show Lego figures kissing. I'm still not sure if those things are still allowed. I'm not entirely sure how we got them through, but we got them through. And there's a series of challenges. This is just a selection of some of the ones that I could remember. And I'm struggling with my French now that I'm looking at the slide. We did get to a point where we realised that we didn't have any bricks to recreate the ads. You'd have thought that would have been the first thing we thought of, but actually we kind of assumed that was a given. We were going to have too many advertisers. The ad break can only be a certain length. So we were worried that we'd got too many people excited and that we had to turn people away. In the end, I think we turned one brand away in the end. But at one point, we thought we might have 2 ad breaks on our hands. How many scenes does an ad have? Most of the time, you look at the ads that we recreated, and actually they're relatively simple to recreate. We looked at some of the other ads. There's multiple scenes, and as soon as you get to multiple scenes, you have to recreate every scene out of Lego, which takes a huge amount of time. We didn't have a single piece of content created, 4 weeks from broadcast? So if you can imagine that this was broadcasting about 6 days before the Lego movie launched in mid-Feb. We came back after Christmas and we didn't have anything. So we made it all happen in 4 weeks. Our biggest challenge towards the end was probably the facial hair on Vinnie Jones, so as part of the BHF ad. That breached Lego guidelines so much that had to be redone. So that was redone frame by frame in terms of reproduction, which is quite an undertaking. I think we had people working overnight to make that happen. We shifted the ad break from a TV show that wasn't performing well, so ITV allowed us to do that very late. We were in a series called Splash, which is a diving show, which was very entertaining. But that wasn't doing particularly well in terms of ratings, so we shifted it quite late, and that sort of flexibility in media is excellent, especially when you're talking about an entire break. If we're talking about single spots, we can do that. Shifting entire breaks is another thing entirely. And then it's a case of, will everybody approve it? We had at least, of the 23 stakeholders, 12 people had an approval or a veto. So to get all of those people to agree to take such a risk was just amazing. It definitely nearly died at least 4 times. At least. It nearly died before it started. It nearly died, I think it nearly died in Burbank. So Warner's head office, they nearly killed it. I think Lego nearly killed it. We fought through that, we got through that, we got through the approvals, and eventually, I think 48 hours before we broadcast, everybody had said yes. Everybody that needed to say yes had said yes, and we were good to go. So we did learn a few things, as you would hope. But the main things, it really is possible for everybody to win. So I think the key thing for me about the collaboration is that had we done this on our own, it wouldn't have been anywhere near as good as it is. So everybody won. All of the brands involved, they saw kind of uplift. They were really pleased with the results. The marketing director from BT wanted to rerun that ad. He preferred the Lego version of his ad to the actual version. We couldn't allow that, but he really wanted to run it. If you don't have a simple idea that's really easy to explain to people, it's really difficult to get that buy-in, and it's really difficult to make it happen. As soon as we started talking to brands and said, we would like to recreate your ad in Lego, they immediately understood what that was. They started asking us some difficult questions that we'd never had before, but they knew exactly what the idea was, and they could see the potential in it. Technical perfection in advertising is overrated, in my opinion. I think the best example of that is probably the Premier In ad, the final one. That is probably the least polished in terms of the executions, but one of the most loved in terms of sort of the outtake and the kind of the consumer reaction. And I think just in case it's sort of the case of getting it to market, getting it on TV, that was the real win. Measure everything as much as you can. We obviously had the kind of the YouGov study, but we were also able to measure awareness uplift as a result of this activity, as part of an ongoing kind of awareness tracking that Warner Brothers undertake for all of their titles. So we were able to do that. And the final one is make it a passion and sort of make it happen. It really takes individuals. Collaboration takes strong individuals to make it happen. There wasn't a day that went by throughout the entire process that myself or other people working on the team at PhD didn't come in and think, we should not do this. This is just getting too hard. But there was always somebody else on the team that would say, no, it's definitely happening. And there was such a passion there was such a belief in the idea that we had, that we really pushed it through to make it happen. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Lego outbreak. Thank you.
I've been there I started doing this company in 2001, so you're right, when I started I opened the newspaper and said Lego will die, so it was a bit of a good start for the first day. But I mean, the brand has always been very strong, and that's why we are still there. So because people were treating this brand really carefully in terms of values. So we had the brand was strong, we had to reactivate this brand. What was really bad at that time was the strategic approach, innovative approach, let's go away from the brick. So it was just, let's say, strategic decisions that were not good at that time. But when we started to be back to the real DNA of the brand and to the brick, then suddenly when we started to rebuild a Lego City fire truck, which is the basis, then we started to again be back in the consumer baskets, let's say, and to be back in the kids' heads. So of course, it's not the only thing, because when we started to do this, we also started to do Bionicle. So I don't know if some of you experienced the launch of Bionicle in 2001. It was the first integrated type of launch we were doing in this company. We were doing action figures, buildable action figures, but we were starting to communicate a story for the first time, which is very important for the kids. We started to communicate these stories through DVDs, through magazines, through a lot of way of communicating the story. We also started to have some strong partnerships. I remember a Nike Bionicle shoe at that time. So we started to test a little bit what you see now that we keep on doing by, let's say, telling stories to the kids. So that's how we've been able to come back. Then it was also a question of focusing back on our consumers, on our customers. So a lot of things that we had to relearn in this company. But we had some very good ideas at that time that we're just now leveraging here.
Also, IPs played a big part in our success, and so third-party IPs, so Star Wars particularly was our first real one.
Yeah, but it's sometimes a mistake that people, when I'm answering to interviews, how IPs save Lego. I would say in the very difficult times, we already started the partnership with Star Wars. So he helped us in 1998, but then after, we had a very good year with Star Wars plus Harry Potter, and then the year after, without any movie, it was a complete failure. So IPs helped a lot, or we learned a lot also from IPs probably. But IPs, it's only it's the market part of total turnover, let's say 20-25%. So,
but what it taught us was the importance of storytelling.
Yeah.
So we started to build our own IPs. So when you look at the content that we're playing, those stories are as valid and as interesting and as rich to kids as any of the ones that IP partners are producing.
We became IPs. And what was the second question? 3D printing, yeah. Another good question that we are getting. Well, we're using 3D printing to build a prototype in the headquarters in Billund. We know the cost of it when you want to do it for something far bigger. It's great, I would say. We already see in the web some consumers that are developing pieces or bricks they are missing. it's not really a strong competition, I would say, so far, as long as, because there's, I would say, 3D printing is less challenging than all the competitors we've got that are developing bricks since years on the market, cheap bricks, cheap prices. What is the difference? The difference is, first of all, of course, the quality. So we own our own factories because there's only one possibility to get the quality we want with the brick, and that's very important for us. So that's probably the first thing. The second thing is the brand, the values and the promises to the kids. The play experience we are pushing, it's very important for us. We're always trying to challenge the kids. It's not only developing a nice product with high quality, nice clutch power, so that you can put the brick together and take them away very easily, which is not so easy to do, but it's also the play experience. So we are really testing what will be a good experience for the kids, and also challenging. In each box we try to challenge a little bit the kids and push the limits of the kids a little bit. And this play experience, it's designers in Denmark that are using gloves, you know, to suddenly have the kids of the hands of the kids of 6 years or 7 years. It's just to be, it's always testing with the kids. I mean, there's no big, let's say, quantitative test or whatever. It's just the designers test an idea, or the test, or the marketing is testing. What about Lego Shima type of story? Then they've got a story. Then they develop products. Then those products that immediately get them to the kids for the first, let's say, equivalent of focus groups, but it's kids groups testing the products and saying, but you cannot open this, or you cannot do this, or you cannot do this. And then we work with kids always. So the play experience is very important. As long as we have the brand values and the play experience, normally, and as long as we are changing ourselves every day, just think, okay, what's the brick tomorrow? Let's say, then normally we should be okay. Warner announced several ones coming. I think it's official. I think Warner announced.
The movie itself, yes, so that is 2017.
And
yeah. We have a movie launch for Lego Ninjago, which is one of our individual brands that's coming in 2016 as well. So definitely more coming on the big screen from Lego.
Merci à vous.